Good morning. Oh, sorry. Good morning. It's great to see everybody here today and all of you online too. And I hope you did join online if you're not here because, you know, one way or another we're going to catch you. It is Sunday morning. It is June 20th, 2001. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there and the fathers here in our church. I just want to say it is so good to be back. I want to just encourage everybody that has been out there in, you know, yonder land and in the internet world, you know, that is watching us to come. We are now in session, and it's fantastic to see everybody. Today we're going to have a talk by Paula, and Paula, I don't even know what the talk is. I'm sorry.
It is The Field. It's the Quest for the Force of the Universe by McTaggart.
Great. I absolutely look forward to it. Let's go ahead and start off with just a, centering here. So if you would, just take a deep breath, close your eyes. Breathe in deeply and let it all go. Holy Spirit is with you today. Holy Spirit is in this room. God is everywhere. God is everywhere we go. God is our greatest source, our greatest power, our greatest sense of peace. And when we can go to that place, we feel the best that we ever have felt. And that's why we come here. That's why we rejoice in what we believe in and what we know to be true. God is the essence of our life. And thank you, God. Thank you for all that we have and that all we can do and all that we can give. Amen. Okay, and with that, let's get started with
All right.
Paula Armknecht.
This is pretty exciting being here. I tell you what, it's a lot more fun than doing this on video. This book by McTaggart is it's based on quantum theory, and I'll be honest with you, I am not a scientific mind, but every time I read this stuff, I just, my mind goes nuts. I start getting what I consider revelations or, new thoughts about something. So what I want to do is to really tie it to spiritual practices and beliefs that have been taught for centuries, specifically with Unity, because we're here. I want you guys to interact, please, because I want your feedback. I want your feelings about, what you're hearing, what kind of revelations come to you, because that's what makes being together so much fun. Excuse me. Just a little bit of history. The birth of quantum theory took place in the 1920s, Max Planck and Niels Bohr were kind of credited as the founding fathers. As the founding fathers of it, and they both won a Nobel Prize for their work with quanta. But what I found interesting reading this book is that conventional science still does not accept quantum theory as a reality, which I kind of had a little bit of an experience with that myself. When I was still teaching, I was teaching in a STEM school with big focus on science, and we had a trainer who was a long-time science teacher. She was there to help us, learn how to teach science. And I know in a discussion one time I mentioned quantum physics, and she totally poo-pooed that. She said that's quasi-science, she just really put that down, which was a little bit offensive, but also made me question, why science would have this, I'm talking conventional science, why they would have such a negative view of something that makes so much sense to me and seems to validate our spiritual practices and teachings, and that's kind of what I wanted to focus on today. Science, conventional science, sees the brain as a computer, and that our bodies react in very predictable ways based upon that computer. But they've been able to clone bodies. They can't find the source of life. Haven't been able to get a handle on what really causes thought or thinking. Is there a problem with that? You guys are all looking at that. What causes thought? It doesn't fit into their paradigm of what the brain and the body is. Also, there is that accepted belief, and it's interesting. The beliefs of science, particularly how the world works and how we work on it, are based on 400-year-old theories of Isaac Newton, and then later Darwin, with his evolution theory. 400 years. A lot has changed in 400 years. And so quantum physicists, look at those deeper questions, and they run experiments and, come to conclusions based upon the evidence, that they're seeing. That ties into what spiritual traditions have been teaching for centuries. And that's kind of where, I wanted to take this. The quantum physicists have discovered what they consider a principle of non-locality. And what that means is that a particle, did I lose my, I got it. A particle once connected, no matter what distance. I feel like I'll just keep going. But a particle once connected, is going to continue to communicate with itself. Many parts. And if we think about, what we believe, what we teach, that we are all one, that we all started from that one source, then it would make sense that no matter where we're located on this earth, or outside of it, I guess, too, that we're still going to be in communication at some level. They have found through experimentation that what affects one part of the particle is going to affect the other part, There have also been some conclusions drawn about how plants and animals communicate, because too, they are, particles of this element, of this field. That relation dies off, relation somewhere else, which really, really makes you question, the theories of Darwin and Newton, that there is separation between us, that there is no connection. So we believe that we are all one in consciousness. All right, guys. Okay. If we are one in consciousness, that's a pretty powerful thought. We teach, that thoughts become things, okay? I believe that for many, many years. I don't understand, I didn't understand how do thoughts become things. I mean, I know it happens, I've seen it, I've experienced it, I've done it, but reading some of this material kind of helped me to, I don't know, kind of wrap my brain around a little bit, just exactly how that happens. So, quantum physicists have found that all particles, they are energy, and I think we've heard that moves in waves, okay? They can't be defined because they're constantly in change, constantly changing. And through experimentation, they found that the experiment and so they say that is the way that we actually create our world. which they found to be even contained within our DNA. And how we are observing it, what is caused as it does. So, I thought about the creation story. What was the first thing, read it to God, let there be light. Light. Talk about breathing in God, breathing out God, live within this exactly what the quantum physics are saying. We are living in this light. We are living in this world of waves and radiation, and we affect it by our attention, by our observation. And so in that way, we are creating our world every moment of every day. And I was thinking, as I was driving in today, this makes sense to me, but I'm thinking, okay, we're living in this world and we all see trees, and we all see, but then it kind of hit me, okay, we're this collective consciousness that have our world into being. We are creating this world together. We're all here together. And yet I would almost bet on the fact that not any one of us in here are going to see it exactly in the same way. We're not going to see the same tree in the same way. And you think about an artist that, will paint a tree and it's like, oh man, that's just gorgeous. Because that's their vision and they help us to see that vision. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Lou is from Jordan, I think, and she said the word for God there is breath.
Breath.
So when you think about breathing God in, that's breath. And when they talk about Adam and Eve being breathed into after they were formed, that was God. And that to me helps to see that concept.
That's beautiful. It absolutely is. I love that. They say that we are living, and I know you've heard this before, this is nothing new, but we're living in this the consciousness of each of us that actually frees those waves into existence, into being, into what we see. That's a hard thing for me to wrap my brain around, although, it excites me to think that, and we've heard this, I think in the course they say the world is an illusion. What we see is an illusion. And that's exactly what they're saying, that the world we're seeing is actually like a hologram. If you've seen Star Trek and there's Princess Leia and she's being shown, that's really what the world is. And it's our attention that is freezing those waves into those elements of what we see. So they also said that we don't actually see objects. I don't see that table. I don't see Paul sitting there. What we see is quantum information that is analyzed through our brain, through probably our experiences. So I didn't say that, but that's what I would imagine to see what we see. And again, anything the same way Stella sees. Even though we might see it differently, how we see it. Absolutely. I would say that, even though they haven't said that. I would say that it's going to be based upon our experiences and what we believe. We hear that. Give me a little bit of an understanding of just really how powerful our thoughts are. Even though I know that, and I know that, we use the power of prayer to change things. I don't want to say I don't, but part of me that's always thinking my prayer, helps something else. But when I think about that, visual I had coming in, you throw a into the pond, you're going to see the ripple from that. Everything in that pond is changed. The rock is changed as a result of that action. So I thought, that's the way prayer could be. I send that out, a collective sending that out, it's going to have ripples across, the universe or the world, I guess. We're kind of limited in this ball, but it's going to have those ripples. Not that it has to be accepted. I get that. We still have free will, but there's a lot of people that are willing not how to accept it, but willing or influence. That was another thing that I read. People are just really easily influenced by whatever happens to be around them. What about people I know, and I hear it all the time, and I'm sure you do too. Oh, the world's in a mess. Everything's going down. I'm thinking, not that kind of energy. What is my job? No, in perfect balance. People are good. Maybe to influence those that are just going along with, oh, everything's bad, everything, maybe that's what we're here for, is to change that perception, because it actually is creating the world we live in. If you want to hold those negative thoughts in mind, you're going to see those negative thoughts. But what if somebody comes along and says, you know what, I don't see it that way. I see, people are good. The world's good. Look at the good things. I think that maybe is my job. I think it probably is our job. We wouldn't be here, doing what we're doing. So, any thoughts about that? Yeah.
Well, I really noticed that when I was doing the census,
Mm-hmm.
I had the most amazing, there were one or two people that were, not happy with what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the people were absolutely amazing. And it was such an up for me to see all of these people and how they were dealing with COVID and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And but I really believe, I went out with the intention
Mm-hmm.
that everything would be perfect.
Right.
And I saw that, even to the point where I was told not to go to this one house because it was dangerous. And when I couldn't find it, and so I stopped at this house to try and find it. The guy says, that's my address. And he gave me all the information. He was just as pleasant as could be.
That's awesome.
And, I had those experiences the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But I went out with that.
Right.
And it just came back to me, and it was amazing. It was a fantastic experience.
That's wonderful. That's exactly the way it works. And we tend to doubt ourselves, I think, or get complacent maybe.
You just have to stop it.
Have to stop it. Just have to stop it. They say that these are the physicists that DNA contains light, and that's the tuning fork of the body. That the cells in our body are like this great orchestra, but there has to be a conductor. The conductor, in my mind, is going to be the intention of, it wouldn't just be an observer, I guess, but I guess we observe everything, even within our own body. Sure we are. So that would be the conductor. And so when that light, when that wave, and get more into this, but what they call the 0 point field, which is that place of complete equilibrium where all probabilities are when that gets out of balance, when that gets out of balance is when illness happens in the body. I got to thinking about those, more so, but like practice, homeopathy, that to bring that balance back into a body, and how you can heal not only yourself but someone else as well. And again, it's that openness or even vulnerability some people have of not thinking from the can actually work to heal those people. And that to me is not a new concept, but it's something I've never really embraced. I think, well, unless somebody, but I don't think that's the case. I think many people are just going along the world, and that we can be, of course, their equanimity in that balance. Does that make sense? Yes.
Vibration. So when you're sending out a higher vibration, those people are feeling that, and it will equalize. It will bring them up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it puts them in a space of receptivity
Right.
where it changes. And they're choosing to feel, because that feels so much better. Every time you go a step higher in the energy, it feels better, and so it entices people to want that feeling, and they'll begin to react to it.
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense to me. There was his name. He said that every molecule in the universe has a resonating quality to it. Everything. And homeopathy is based on that. And then it doesn't go a lot into detail on that. You'll be one that knows more about homeopathy and natural foods. But my thought, and tell me if I'm right or even on the right track, is nature is so in tune to those universal.
That life force that plants receive, we're directly getting that. and absolutely, yeah, it can only benefit us.
Right. That's kind of. They talked about the waves in. I wanted to say the forest, but the book's called The Field, but it's called Forest. It's going to be the same. It's those waves of magnetic energies. The observers, we have that ability to observe into being those things that are for the good, and to affect our world. Let me go on down because I've kind of gone ahead of myself and talked about some of those things already. Talked about seeing that world as a hologram. That again, that is a hard thing for, it's a hard thing to accept, although it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I've heard that in the course, and I've heard that, in various studies that I've been in, that what we're seeing is not real. In my notes here, they talk about physicists are saying no, that's not the way it is. That we're actually picking up that information from the field, and again, we're analyzing that to create what. And I was thinking about it as I was driving in today. How Jesus performed his miracles, because to wine was Jesus, because he was obviously so in tune with the force and with the 0-point field. What looked like water to everybody else could have been wine to him, because he saw it that way. And influencer he was, because of his cohesion, with the field, everyone else saw it that way. I don't know. Does that seem like a possibility? Yeah, because you think, how? Well, it's all just quantum information based upon the observer. If someone as in tune as Jesus could see it as wine, it's wine. Isn't that exciting? Wow.
Don't you think it was more power of thought and faith, how he was able to perform these miracles?
Well, do you not think it's the same thing, maybe?
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe faith is the same thing as
Belief, yes. Yeah, he was so in tune with it, he knew that, it's just a matter of perception. And, yeah. And do you see it that way, or do you see faith as being somewhat
I think
different?
it was really so much power of thought that he could create. He believed he could, so what happened? That's power of thought.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you think about that 0-point field, that field of, or that place, and energy. If That's kind of the way I saw that 0 point field. They're explaining that. It's that point of access. I think that great masters, I'm going to use Jesus because, you know, that's what we talk about others, and you all know that. I think they were able to find that place, and we might think of that as that absolute stillness or that place of calm, you know, that we strive to reach where possible. It's there for us. And I think that the masters were so in cohesion with that, and they were so in that 0 point field, we're going to call it that because that's what he calls it, that they abilities and all probabilities. And that, you know, the healings that are attributed to Jesus. In that field of all possibility, he could see that, you know, this doesn't, whatever this ailment was, I can't think of one right off the top of my head, whatever the ailment is not the only probability. It could very well be this probability, and you know, he affirmed that, he gave gratitude for that, and, well, you know, the healing takes place. Say that I understand. Is that possible? Is that how those things were happening? Yes, ma'am.
There was something that came up, that you don't manifest things, that you provide the vacuum, the space for something to manifest. And that, in my opinion, is what he did with people. He gave them that 0 point, that vacuum, where they could receive it. Because he couldn't heal anybody if they couldn't receive it. There were places in, I think it was Canaan, that he could do no, because the people were so closed that they couldn't receive it. But he was able to give them that space where they could receive. Absolutely.
Oh, I totally agree with you there. And there's even somewhere within my notes where they're talking, one of the physicists had done some experimentation with medicines and found that medicines either work or they don't. And his conclusion was it depends upon the blockages of energy in that. So it's exactly what you're saying. Just because, you know, you affirm health or healing or, you know, powerful prayer for somebody else doesn't mean they're going to accept it. There's those blockages, absolutely. And again, we call that free will, but, you know, not everybody always, people don't always realize that that's what they're doing, that they're just, don't want to be healed, you know. But in reality, it's probably, you know, what's going on at some level, if that makes sense. They also found that each cell within the body contains the memory of the whole. And once again, it's that whole hologram experience. And as detestable as I find animal experimentation, unfortunately, some of their studies, you know, have been done on animals where they've actually damaged brains of mice and things like that, but found that the memories are still there, no matter what kind of damage, you know, has been done, which makes me ill to even think about. But it is fascinating to think about every cell within our body maintains that consciousness of who we are. You know, and he talked about, you know, people that experience the phantom limb idea after losing a limb, and it's still there. It's because the consciousness of that is still there. You know, to me shows, well, that plus other things, that consciousness is not a function of the brain. It is not. You know, that there's that non-locality of the consciousness that is in absolute and total communication with every particle of consciousness within the universe, you know, as within our own body. So to me, that's just like, wow, you know, that's just really exciting. Really exciting, you know, how do we, let's see, I've already talked about that one. They also found that, and I say they, it was Bohr and Heisenberg were actually the physicists that did this, but they found that an electron is not a precise entity, that it changes constantly, and that's one of the things that I think conventional science can't figure out, because they want everything in nice little packages, where you can study, the proton, you can study the electron, and they can't figure out how it's constantly changing, and science is constantly, trying to change their theories. But quantum physics is saying it's not an exact entity. It obviously it's going to change with the observer, with the, the intention of the observer, and it opens up to, and quits persecuting those that believe something that quantum physics is kind of meshing those two together, and that makes it a real, taboo and. I did mention this, but I think it bears repeating. Our observation freezes the energy, the waves, into an image that we see. That is so difficult to wrap my brain. I believe it. I have faith in it. Let me say faith. I think faith and belief are two different things. But I have faith in that. Do I understand that? No. But the world that we're seeing, that's a frozen image. And this was another revelation. You guys think I'm crazy, but I have all these revelations that happen, and like I said, they change as I think about it. I think, what in the world was I thinking? But I had a revelation about life in the human body. And again, that's something that conventional science can't figure out. Where does life come from? Even though they can clone, cells and bodies, where does life come from? And I was thinking about this. When we put our attention, if we freeze images through the wave energy, we put our attention on being in a human body in this world, okay? That we animate that body, okay, our conscious. And then the question arose within myself, do we die? Do we leave this world because our body starts to shut down? Or does our body start to shut down because our consciousness begins to withdraw? Okay, does that make sense? And then, when you hear these studies, well, we should never die of old age. Well, that would make sense. As long as your consciousness is animating that body and healing that body, and it has that healing ability within ourselves, which we do, there should never be death. But start removing that consciousness, the body starts to deteriorate. So, I don't know. That's one of my mind-blowing revelations there. We know this. We've heard this. Consciousness isn't limited to our personal space. We know that. That we're part of this great whole. Everything is possible in God. Quantum physicists are seeing that in the field. Realities to everything. Nothing is set. Is that not what we teach? It's just that we call it God. They call it the field, or you can call it force, you can call it universal intelligence, or you can call it whatever. It's all one quantum field of light energy that we as consciousness, as observers, and he also says that consciousness is the greatest balancer in the universe, which I thought was pretty interesting as well. You missed the part, but talked about light, containing light and field. And then, like I said, what was the first thing God said in the creation? Let there be light. That was the beginning. That was everything else created. So, isn't that cool? Well, from him, but yeah, that is cool. That is cool. The greatest form of order in the universe is consciousness, and then we're all part of that. Attention affects our immune system. Again, we know that. What attention we put on ourselves and on our bodies and healing affects our immune system, but also can as well as Elby said, when they are open and willing. I think personally, it's not my place to judge if somebody's open and willing. It's my place to give it, And so, 0 point is that balance of all potentialities. about that, you know, that all potentialities. And he talked about, you know, and I know we've heard this, that in quantum physics, there is no space and time. We've all heard this. But something that kind of struck me in this is that in quantum, in this quantum world, all points of space and time exist simultaneously. The future, the past, they're all existing simultaneously. I would surmise where our attention is, you know, where we are. We've trained ourselves, you know, as humans to think linearly, but that doesn't mean that the past and the present are not going on at the same time. You know, I have read before that you can even heal the past, because the past really isn't the past. It really is going on at the same time. And the future, I thought of you, Sue, pre-painting. That came to mind. When you start pre-painting something, what happens to your physical body? I know, you know, I have points in my time, not so much anymore, but at periods in my life, I've been quite a worrier. And if I'm worrying about something that, you know, in the future, all of that going on in my body, my emotions, you know, and I'm tense and I'm scared and I'm painting. And yet, if I stop and think that the future is really now as well as the right now, can I change that? Of course I can. You know, and that's something that I want to be more aware of. And I also found that, I hate to admit this, but you know, when we're talking about mindfulness, I know that John Brocker talks a lot about mindfulness, and I'm going to start listening more to him, because I have a tendency to, and I'll just be honest, I have a tendency to be kind of absent-minded throughout my day, and do things that are like, well, that was silly, you know, that brings my attention back. But I do that quite a bit, and I'm going to stop that. I'm just going to stop that, because when you're absent-minded, you're just allowing things to happen, you know, to allow that pre-painting to happen, you know, oh my gosh, you know, what happened here and what's going to happen, you know, or allowing others to influence you. As we were talking about, you know, the world is going down and blah, blah, blah. That can happen when you're absent-minded, when you're not living in that mindful space. Mm-hmm.
One of the phrases that came to my mind when I was thinking about this was, keep your wits about you.
Mm.
You know, that used to be a common thing to say to children, you know, when they were going out to play, is keep your wits about you.
Right.
And that's mindfulness.
It is.
And we don't hear that saying very much anymore, or at least I haven't heard it for a long time, but it came back to my mind that it had been said to me, and I'm like, that's mindfulness training.
Absolutely. Being aware all the time of where you are and who you are and what you're doing. You know, and that's something I'm going to work on, because I'm not great at
And
it.
Paula, can I say,
Yes.
you're so normal.
Am I good?
Because I'm going to say that we're all raising our hand going, yep.
Gosh.
You want to be so consciously aware, but life happens.
Yeah.
So thank you for being so honest.
Oh, yeah.
We can all raise our hands to that.
Joe Dispenza says,
No, that's all right.
No,
Linda?
I was just agreeing that yes.
Yeah, well, good. Good that I'm not a...
Joe Dispenza says that we program through what we do, and that by the time we're 35, we're pretty well programmed. And so our body is programmed to do natural reflexes, and we don't think about what we're doing. And that's what he's, in his series Rewired, that's what he's talking about, is stopping that old program by being aware.
Right.
Because he says that our bodies, we have trained.
That
and our
muscle
bodies
memory.
are actually the ones that are reacting and doing the stuff because we programmed them to.
Right.
And that's part of not being mindful, is allowing what we've been doing the whole time to keep doing what we are doing. And that's something that when you break that chain, then you become a whole new consciousness, and you move forward instead of, and you reprogram your body so that it doesn't do those same old habits.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Can't tell you how many times I've driven home and thought, did I pass the store? You know, where am I at on the road? And it's just like, this is ridiculous. You know, it's ridiculous. I don't even know how I got here. So, but we're changing that. They said that information, you know, in China, you know, it's received instantly. I mean, that, you know, we're all the experiments on psychic phenomena, ESP. I mean, I know we've all experienced that, you know. Those that foretell in the future. Well, again, if the future and the present are the same, you know, why? Or past, or remote viewing. I've done remote viewing, not intentionally. I have, a lot of times it doesn't happen, but the happen, it would be like when I'm just a totally relaxed state, maybe before going to sleep, and I would see a scene. It's like, what in the world, you know, because I wouldn't know the people, I wouldn't know that. How can you do that if we're separate entities? I mean, that's not possible. It's not possible. There are people who do that intentionally, I understand, but, you know, I'm not one of them, but I've done it enough that, you know, I know that it's a reality. And, you know, they've done all kinds of experimentation with that shows, you know, that we are one consciousness. And, you know, things are, another thing that he suggested, and I don't know if I don't know how I feel about this, because I always kind of believe in reincarnation. You know, it makes sense to me. I mean, why couldn't we incarnate another body and that sort of thing? And he does mention in here that it's possible that people who feel that they're remembering a past lifetime, not necessarily their lifetime, could be reading. You could be reading, you know, from the past somebody else's lifetime. And I thought, wow, you know, why not? But I don't know for sure how I feel about that, you know. I think it's possible, yeah, that we reincarnate, and to me it's always been probable. But maybe we really don't. Maybe we can learn lessons from things ours. Doesn't have to be, because of our oneness, that cohesion. And I found, as I was reading about the time, space, and all, what time do we need to stop?
No, you're good.
Okay. So, okay.
Sure.
As we're thinking about all the time and space points being, now, I had a kind of a new awareness about gratitude. And I'm a big believer in gratitude. Big believer, you know, and I use it all the time in my life. My thought, though, was that gratitude is about something that's going to happen, you know, and I'm thankful before that happens. As I was thinking about, you know, all space and time is one. If I'm giving gratitude for something, it's just as real right now. That giving gratitude for is just as real right now as it. I mean, you know, real. So that gratitude is not for the future; it's for now. It's for right now. And I know that we're taught, and we talk about, you know, though you already have it when you give your gratitude. Well, really, you do. That quantum information has already been put out, and it's manifesting. And so that was, to me, was like, whoa.
And you know, that's Jesus' message to us, you know, pray believing that you've received. He was an awesome metaphysician. And he was saying it right there. You know, you have it right now.
Right.
Believe it right now, give thanks for it right now, because it is here right now. It hasn't manifested, but yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That was kind of a
Powerful.
my see what else on this, but I wanted to again. I think Jesus was able to, and when I say Jesus, those of you that follow other religious practices too, you know he's not the only one, but I thought about the Fillmores, Charles and Myrtle. We know that Charles spent many, many, many hours in meditation and prayer. Were they in that field, that 0-point field of all possibility? I mean, it's amazing to me, of course, we know the story that of Myrtle's healing. It's almost more amazing to me, Charles's healing. I mean, how do you grow a leg? How do you add inches to your stature? How do you do any of that after you're an adult? How do you do that? To me, that is just mind-blowing. But those potentialities are there.
Lobsters and alligators do it all the time.
They do it all the time, don't they? Yeah. Do they even question that they could do it? No. But do we? If you lose an arm, do you think you can really grow it back? Well, I don't think any of us have the faith. That place, or we have the faith that we could do that, but in theory, can do it, why couldn't we do it? So, I don't know, it's pretty fascinating to me. He ends this book, and I'm just going to end this, and then if you guys have any feelings on this, please speak up, that we are in that 0-point age, that we have, and again, age kind of limits us to a time, but you know what I'm saying? We're at that consciousness level now of being able to intend creation in this world. Intend creation from that 0-point place where it's going to be what's right for all. It's easy for me to sit here and create wealth, or to create, I want this and create that. But if it's going to raise the consciousness, which is the order of the universe of all, it's going to have to come from that place of the 0-point, or the stillness, or the knowingness, that God self. And I do believe, and I think you probably all do, that's why we're here, that's where we are right now. That's the age we're here in. Probably why we're here. Probably why we chose to be here in this time, I know, Elby, you talked about during this quarantine, and how positive it was for you. I honestly have never felt a greater sense of peace than I have this past year. And I'm not saying it was, it was great. I mean, not being able to see your friends and things like that. But through that, I prospered. I did. I prospered. I mean, financially, yes. Health-wise, yes. But I've just had the greatest sense of peace this past year. And I can't really put my finger on why, but apparently that's what I wanted, and so that's what the result was. So people talk, oh, it's just, it's such an awful year, and I'm just thinking, I don't want to argue with anybody. I'm like, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. So anyway, that's where I'm going to end it. Anybody, thank you. Anybody have anything they want to add?
Well, I just want to tell you, what you've said today goes along with my talk.
Yay!
So I'm super excited.
Isn't that? Yes.
Even some specifics you said in there. So.
Oh, how exciting! I look forward to hearing that then. Yeah. But we're all one mind, right? We're all one mind.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, Paul, finish.
Yeah. I've got to pick up the microphone. Thank you so much, Paula. I know we gave her an applause here, but myself,
thank you.
There are so many mysteries in life, aren't there? And what Paula was talking about today with quantum physics, it has always just totally amazed me, and I always have such an interest in that. So it was very fascinating to hear what you had to say on quantum physics. And if you want to pick up on some of those mysteries in life, you can find it here at Unity of Springfield in Springfield, Missouri. So tune in or show up.
Yes.
And we are picking up. We want you here, actually. We love your physical presence. You're putting off that energy while you're here. You're picking up energy while you're here. And that's why we come together, and that's why we are Unity. So with that, I just want to go ahead. I know I don't have a screenshot on this, but we do survive on your energy in the form of your donations. And of course, we love all of the volunteering that we have here at Unity. We just really have a vibrant and live community here, and we love that. But we also need your donations. So if you would, you can give many ways. You know, we have our Tithely app that you can give through that. We have our PayPal account that you can give through that. You can give the old-fashioned way through cash or through a check. And of course, Tom in the back here has his basket, and you can always put your donation in the basket as you leave the room too. So I do want to wish all of you a very happy Father's Day today. It's just a wonderful feeling to know that there's a celebration for all of us in many respects. And today we're celebrating Father's Day. So.
And happy first day of summer.
Happy first day of summer. That's right. Yeah. I'm so glad to get spring over with. It's been, it's been a little warm. So maybe summer's going to be a little bit better than that.
Yes.
I don't know. Anyway, let's go ahead and close out. Just everybody close your eyes for just a moment. And think about the wonderful things the wonderful thoughts that Paula was bringing up in her talk today. And just how our thoughts can truly change the way we see things and the way that we affect other people and the world around us. And you have that potential to change the world. So with that, keep it in mind. You are so powerful. And you are so blessed. And what a blessing it is to be here and to be here now. And to be that loving creature that you truly are. And with that, I embrace you. I send loving thoughts to all of you out there in internet world and also here in this class. And with that, namaste.
Namaste.
Have a great day, everybody.